Hi Car! I'm Aiko Yakumo, and welcome to a brand new Yu-Gi-Oh series called Master Duel C.R.A.S.H. That's Crash as in commons, rares, and some holos. In Master Duel C.R.A.S.H, I will be building a Yu-Gi-Oh deck in Master Duel out of only commons, rares, and the bundle deal and solo mode ultra rares, as well as 6 or fewer super rares. And then, after I build it, I'll show you what it looks like, and I will take it into ranked to give it a spin. This week, for the inaugural episode, we will be doing Tenyi. Now, Tenyis is an archetype that you can very easily build with ultras, without any ultras and very few supers, which is part of the reason I chose it for the inaugural episode of this series. With Tenyis, you get what you really see. It's a link deck that utilizes the Tenyi main deck monsters to link into Monk of the Tenyi and link climb up until you reach Tenyi Spirit Sasahara. It also uses the tuners to synchro summon into 8-star synchros, the only one of which I can fit in as a super rare, being Baxia Brightness of the Yangxing. Actually, it's pronounced Bashia Brightness of the Yangxing, but who really can say anything about how these cards are pronounced? Now, for the deck. You'll notice I have several ultras in the deck. This is because Lightning, Regeki, Monster Reborn, Lightning Storm, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Infinite Impermanence, and Rastaliger are all easily obtainable through either structure decks, starter decks, the solo mode, or bundle deals. For the rest of the cards, I of course have the Tenyis. All of them special summon themselves when they have no effect monsters on your field. Adhara and all of them banish themselves from hand or graveyard if there's an effect monster on your field and you want to activate an effect. Adhara can banish itself to target a banished worm monster and add it to the hand, except itself. Sathana can banish itself to target a destroyed monster that was destroyed by battle or card effect and special summon it. That's a normal, non-effect monster. Mapura is a targeting negation that destroys the target. Tenyi Spirit Nahata is a card that reduces an opponent's monster's attack by 1500 if it battles. Tenyi Spirit Vashada is one of the most popular ones. You can banish it to target a card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. And Ashuna banishes itself to summon a Tenyi from the deck. However, you can't special summon monsters except worms for the rest of the turn. I've also placed in 2 Radiant, the multi-dimensional kaiju, as it's a simple removal option that allows you to get rid of your opponent's monsters easily, while also not normal summoning or having to go through any ultra rares or super rares. Now for spells and traps, we've of course got Triple Vessel for the Dragon Cycle, which is very good. It basically sends a worm, adds a Tenyi if you control a non-effect monster, and then with your Tenyi, you can use the Tenyi in Grave and the Tenyi in Hand. You can special summon the Tenyi in Hand and use the Tenyi in Hand's effect, whatever you want. And you can use the Tenyi in Grave's effect as well. I've got 1 Regeki, 1 Monster Reborn, and 1 Lightning Storm. All of them are particularly good cards. Regeki and Lightning Storm both allow you to blow out your opponent's monsters. Lightning Storm allows you to defeat your opponent's spells and traps. And Monster Reborn is just generally a good card. Reviving an opponent's monster is really good. Flawless Perfection of the Tenyis is a very interesting card. All non-effect monsters on the field are unaffected by effect monsters' effects. Monster effects. And once per turn, if your opponent specials an effect monster while you control a face-down or non-effect monster, you can draw 2 cards. And generally, in Tenyi, you'll always be controlling a non-effect monster. Mystical Space Typhoon's just a rare spell and trap removal card, so that's good. Forbidden Chalice is a decent replacement for Forbidden Droplet or Effect Veiler, since it's a quick effect negate. And Heavenly Dragon Circle, of course, is one of the most important Tenyi cards in the deck. It tributes a worm to add a worm or special a worm from deck, but negate its effects. And during your main phase, if you control a non-effect monster, you can banish it to add a Tenyi from deck to hand, including Flawless Perfection of the Tenyi and Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi, which I'll get into a bit later. As for hand traps, we have Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, which is just generally a good card, and Infinite Impermanence, which is also good. Finally, there's Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi, a counter trap card that negates the activation of a spell or trap card or monster effect while you control a non-effect monster, and if it's destroyed when it's set, you can special summon a non-effect from your extra deck, which includes Berserker of the Tenyi or Monk of the Tenyi, both of which are very good because they are Tenyi cards. For my extra deck, I've got Bashia, Brightness of the Yangxing. It's really good because it allows you to shuffle away 2 monsters on the field into the deck, and it can just revive a Tenyi monster. For instance, you can use it as just removal by popping a Monk of the Tenyi, reviving any other Tenyi, and then banishing a Sathana to special summon back the Monk of the Tenyi, destroying a card your opponent controls. Next is Pentastag, which is a normal, common Link monster that's just pretty decent. Track Black is really good. It gives your monsters, like, pretty good effects. Shaman of the Tenyi is a good revival card, and its Tenyi lock effect doesn't particularly matter because I am mostly only playing Tenyis. Defender of the Labyrinth is pretty cool because it makes all non-effect monsters you control gain 500 attack, but it is also useless because it requires 2 normal monsters, and as such, I'll be taking it out to add in a copy of a copy of Pentastag as well. So, second copy of Pentastag. Triple Burst Dragon is generally pretty good. It can use its effect to negate a damage step effect, and if it attacks an opponent's monster, you inflict piercing battle damage, and during your main phase, you contribute it to revive a link to a lower, including Shaman of the Tenyi. Berserker of the Tenyi is a 3000 link 3 beater. That's pretty much it. Agave Dragon's a Worm Link 4, which has a pretty decent effect. You gain 400 life points for each worm in your graveyard. Rastaliger comes in the structure deck and can target a link monster to gain attack equal to that target's attack until the end of the turn, and it's a pretty good non-targeting destruction removal effect. And Tenyi Spirit Sasasrasra is interesting. While you control a non-effect monster, monsters your opponent controls can't target effects for attacks. And your opponent can't target effect monsters on the field with card effects. And you can also special summon a Tenyi Spirit token by targeting an effect monster your opponent controls, with the token's attack becoming the targeted monster's original attack. So, it essentially allows you to summon a pretty decent token that's just there all the time. Now then, let's get into some games and see how we're going, shall we? Duel and Platinum Tier 1. I am technically... Oh, this is the wrong deck. This is Swordsoul. What I am playing is not Swordsoul, but instead is Tenyi. So, now we'll duel. I may go down a rank, but I find it will probably be worth it in order to record this episode. I won the dice roll. Let's choose to go second, because our deck is a going second deck generally. Tenyis don't necessarily like going first that much. And besides, I'm playing a decent amount of cards that somewhat revolve around me going second. They are playing the pure Swordsoul deck. As you can see, this is a very interesting form of deck, which Tenyi Swordsoul well, Tenyi Swordsoul, not pure Swordsoul, but this deck is rather interesting in that it's very good at synchro summoning and also very good at link summoning. Fortunately for us, we've got 2 Forbidden Chalices in our hand, so we'll be able to play through what they have without much trouble. Now, I'll just pause the turn so you don't have to worry about where it goes. Now, as you can see here, this is a very slightly different deck than I was expecting, but it really shouldn't be too much trouble for a deck like this to go with. Now, you see, the thing about Forbidden Chalice is it's quite interesting and quite good against decks like this. For instance, you can very easily negate its effect with Baronne de Fleur, negate the effect of Baronne de Fleur with it. They have a counter trap face down, but that really shouldn't be too much trouble. And with Baronne de Fleur negating it, Forbidden Chalice should go through, and I will probably also negate Bian, I think. Interesting choice. You're going to 9 Pillars of the Yangtze, the Chalice on Bian? Really interesting. Well, at least I can say this deck is successful, because for now, I am going to Tenyi Spirit Nahanta. With their board, they'll likely use Swordsoul Grandmaster Qishao, but unfortunately for them, Swordsoul Grandmaster Qishao isn't really that good against a pure Tenyi strategy. We'll Vessel for the Dragon Soul here. Send from deck to the graveyard a Tenyi monster? Oh, well that's unfortunate. Fortunately, I do actually have some way to beat them anyway. But that is very annoying if you ask me. I guess I'll normal summon this Nahata. And link for a Shaman of the Tenyi? That can't be quite right. I suppose I'll just summon another Nahata. I'll set one and pass my turn. Now, it seems as if we were very close, but unfortunately for me, the Ash Blossom was in their hand, so you're really going to activate that, huh? Okay. If you're sure, I will negate that with Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi, however. Getting rid of your Baronne de Fleur altogether. Oh. It just negates the activation. I should have just let it go through. Silly me. Now they're probably going to... Why are they calling dark when all my monsters are earth? This is confusing. You do know that I have this in my grave, right? That means your monster dies. Just like mine. Unfortunately for me, I'm almost over with. And I likely will be next turn. But that entirely depends on what I draw. Say, for instance, I draw a copy of Raigeki or Lightning Storm. Unfortunately, all I drew was a flawless perfection of the Tenyi. Well, I can't say I didn't try my best. I suppose that will basically pretty much tell me how this match will go. They're going to use Baron de Fleur, likely going to special summon back the Denglong, or the Yazi, either or. Oh, they're special summoning back their Chaiwen. I see. Well, I can't exactly win from here, so I'm going to surrender. Unfortunately for me, that simply wasn't in the cards. Now, looking at Tenyi, it seems like it's a deck with a lot of potential. Perhaps with a few more extra cards that are like supers and higher and the like, Tenyi could potentially be very, very good. Unfortunately, playing it at this level won't necessarily get you up high into Platinum. However, I very much almost did win that game. It was only by the inclusion of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring in my opponent's hand that I lost. And with that, I will see you all next time. Give the deck a try for yourself, and I'll see you through the storm. Bye bye!